What is your crazy roommate story? I guess this is more of a shitty roommate than a crazy roommate story. Not only would he drink every drop of alcohol in the house, he'd also smoke every shred of bud in a 5-mile radius and spend his days paralyzingly drunk and stoned. On yet another one of these daily benders, he left the back door open overnight, and 2 of my 3 cats escaped. One of the cats I had just dropped $1,000 on getting his mouth fixed, and that morning I was taking him to the vet for his final checkup after surgery. I put food and water out and hung around outside. One night, I stepped out to see an orange tail disappearing around the corner of the house. After a chase in the dark across 2 yards and under a shrub, I managed to nab Jaeger. I took him inside, where Mosey seemed less than thrilled, but whatever. He seemed okay. He ate, I played with him, rubbed his belly, he purred, and seemed happy to be back. He slunk off under the bed to sleep, hide like he always did. The next morning, I get up, go to work, come home, and he's still under the bed. I didn't think much of it since he's a very high-strung cat and probably was recovering from his outside adventures. I finalized plans with a friend for a 4th of July cookout, which was the next day, and went to check on Jaeger. Unfortunately, Jaeger had died. The 4th of July barbecue was rather subdued. The roommate said he felt awful but went right back into his room to keep drinking, coming out only to smoke his bong. A few days later, I went out for a cigarette, heard a meow, and out stepped Gunther. I scooped him up, brought him inside, and he seemed okay. My roommate was apologetic, but hey, shit happens, right? He'd be more careful about the back door in the future. A couple of weeks later, I left for a 2-week vacation. The day after I left, he apparently decided to once again smoke and drink himself into a paralyzed stupor. This was a near-daily occurrence. And of course, the doors got left open and Mosey and Jaeger both escaped. He didn't bother to notify me of this. I came home 2 weeks later expecting 2 cats and some food in the house. I came home to no food, nothing to drink, alcoholic or otherwise, and no cats. Not only did he let the cats escape, but he also literally, not figuratively, ate everything in the house, and the only thing to drink came from a tap. Repeated texts and calls to his cell phone were apparently ignored. When I said no food, I meant that I had to go to my car to get a granola bar and walk to the gas station to get a soda. Even the bottle of liquor I had squirreled away he had found and emptied. He eventually wandered home, stoned out of his gourd, and he just shrugged when I asked him about the cats. I finished unpacking my car and putting my things away, took a long hot shower, and as I was getting dressed, I noticed there was a glass on my dresser. I don't eat or drink in my bedroom, but I shrugged it off. I was tired, pissed, and distracted, so maybe I did bring in a glass of water and forgot about it. All I wanted was clean clothes after 2 weeks camping, so I pushed it out of my mind. A few hours later, I'm getting ready for bed when I find evidence, used condoms, condom wrappers, stains, lube, that he or someone had sex in my bed, repeatedly I would guess, judging from what I found. Here it is, past midnight. I just want to sleep, and I've just discovered my bed has been defiled. I was up until 2 a.m. washing and drying the sheets so I could get some sleep. The following afternoon, when I woke up, I went outside, had a cigarette, put down more food for Mosey and Gunther, and sat and stewed. When I went back inside, I knocked on his door and told him I didn't care where he went, but he had to leave and not come back. I agreed to give him 30 days to come get his stuff, but that he was out of the house ASAP. A couple of days later, he just disappeared. I changed the locks. I gave him his 30 days. Not a single word from him. I think it was actually 32 days before I texted him in the morning and told him the following day I was getting rid of his stuff. No reply. I woke up the following morning and started bagging up his shit to be hauled away. Later that afternoon, he texted that he was on his way and would be there in 20 minutes. I was already on the way back from dumping a few bags of stuff and figured I'd get home just as he got there. Nope. A few hours later, he finally showed up, not as stoned as he would regularly get, but stoned enough that he was just barely functional. He aimlessly wandered around the house for a bit before introducing me to his friend, and they started grabbing his stuff and throwing it into a car. I sat on the couch and paid just enough attention to them to ensure they weren't walking off with anything of mine. I forget if it was the 2nd or 3rd carload, but at one point he asked if I would mind loading my car and driving over some of his stuff. I just looked at him mutely before he shuffled off. He and his friend eventually finished hauling his stuff away, and that's the last I heard of him. In the course of about a month, I went from 3 cats to 1 cat to 2 cats to 0 cats. I've since fostered and adopted another cat once it became clear Gunther and Mosey weren't coming home. But I can't help but wonder what happened to them, and just hope someone found them and gave them good homes. Story number 2. Currently living through it. Moving at the end of the month. Last summer, I found a nice 3BR in a nice neighborhood here in Chicago. A guy who's currently living there, let's call him K, tells me about how messy his previous roommate was and how annoying it was. Perfect. My last roommate was messy, and I wanted to live with someone who keeps it clean. Now I'm a straight white dude. K is gay and black. Whatever. You can be purple and into dragons. Just pick up after yourself, be respectful, the typical. Another girl, T, moves in with us, and the summer goes off without a hitch. As it started to get colder, this dude would just crank the heat. I'm talking like 80 degrees when it's only 40 outside. We had agreed on 68-72, which is a pretty standard temperature. But this dude just needs it crazy hot. We settled on 75 as a max, and it was still higher than that. To follow this, he got a kitten, who he didn't bother getting neutered. So now there's an aggressive, untrained kitten just roaming around and eating the furniture, which is mine. Things are progressively getting less and less clean. Coming home to my pots and pans just left a wreck on the stove and trash piled up. The dining room table is filled with dude stuff. Minor bickering ensues. This is followed up in December by this guy sending a 6 to 7 page long message accusing me and T, the girl, of being racist and biased against him because of his race, and that he's moving out. Me and T scramble around, find a new roommate, and say, okay, we'll let you out from the lease. Let's all just move on. Dude constantly complains about drama and how he doesn't like it, but spends all day on the phone talking about it with his friends. He decides not to move after making us scramble about. New Year comes. He wants to apologize and move on and for all of us to be friends again. Okay, fine. A week after, he claims he's moving again. We tell him we'll put up an ad when he signs a lease. If we can't find a replacement in time, me and T will cover. Last week, this guy now claims he's not moving. I have a GameCube I got for Christmas. Sunday, he's using it in the living room. Fine. Sharing's all good. I'll use it tomorrow. Monday, he wants to take it to his boyfriend's. I say fine on the condition it's back tomorrow because I want to use it. Tuesday, he wants to use it again. I'm a bit annoyed because I was specific about wanting it back so I could finally play it. I offer, fine. You want to use it? Then I need a new copy of the game for a different system. And can you clean up the place before you leave? Dude starts pouting and throwing a fit, claiming I'm treating him like a child. He cleans everything, mopes around, leaves, comes back with the GameCube, and makes a big scene about, fine, you can have it back. No less than 5 minutes later, he wants to borrow the GameCube because he cleaned like I asked, after throwing a fit about how he'd bring it back. At that point, I lost it. I don't have time to deal with this. I told him, no, you can't have it, fuck off. He starts it up with 5-page-long text messages again. I blocked the number out of my phone. I went back this weekend, took the important stuff, desk, computer, clothes, games, etc., to my girlfriend's house. I'm camping out with her until next Friday when I move into a new place. Remember, kids, if someone complains about drama, they are probably the ones starting it. Story number 3. Sophomore year of college, I'm living on campus in an apartment with 3 other girls. 2 of the girls are my friends, and the other girl was a loose friend of one of my other roommates that she met in a class. This random girl was absolutely psycho. Before we moved into the apartment, she wrote a long list of apartment rules that none of us had a say in. Though it was pretty standard, we agreed to the rules list. She wanted me to come with her to a drama majors only bonfire. I wasn't a drama major, but she brought me anyway to play the ultimate third wheel. I ended up having to carry boxes to burn for her down this huge slippery hill, and ended up falling and cutting my elbow pretty bad. She refused to leave, even though I was bleeding pretty bad, and there wasn't a sink or anything to clean up the dirty cut. We didn't end up leaving until 3 a.m., and we got there at 8 p.m., all because she wanted this guy, who she didn't talk to or make any obvious moves on the whole night, to kiss her. He never kissed her. Also, no one talked to me because I wasn't a drama major. Our shower was super small and had no storage options. So one of my friends brought a bathroom stand to keep our shower stuff on when we weren't taking a shower. Psycho roommate decided that she could keep her stuff in the shower, but the rest of us couldn't. Her reasoning behind this was us three had lived in the dorms, so we are used to shower caddies, but she never lived in the dorm, so she isn't used to it. I slept over at a guy's place, and she immediately added a rule of no guys to our apartment rules. Also, she proceeded to call me a slut on her private Twitter. On her Twitter, she thought that we didn't know about, bitch we did. She tweeted about how much she hated us for doing things like cleaning or existing. She would cook these huge-ass meals for herself, but refused to clean the dishes and pots pans. So I would spend an hour cleaning the dishes for her just so I could use them. At this point, 2 weeks into school, she stopped following her own apartment rules, so us other girls thought we could too. She got mad at us for not cleaning and for being quiet when she refused to clean and would blast music or Netflix. We decided to have a roommate meeting to call Psycho Bitch out on her hypocritical ways. She ended up locking herself in her room and fake crying. And it wasn't the cute fake crying either. It was wailing and screaming. We threatened to call the RA, and that made her get out of her room. During the meeting, we told her to start pulling her own weight around the apartment, and she started crying again and randomly bringing up how she was abused by everyone in her life. We didn't give two shits about her sob story, which made her ultra mad. Like, what does your mom neglecting you have anything to do with your ability to clean dishes? The next morning, she posted a list on the fridge of her life story, consisting of how everyone in her life has neglected and abused her. Then went on to how her experiences somehow allowed her to not do chores or follow the rules that she created, but the rest of us have to follow these rules, 'cause reasons. Then she went into how we were bitches and bullies, and that we were going to hell, and we were terrible, unsupportive people. Along with this, she posted some suicidal tweets. So we sent the tweets and the list to the RA, who sent the cops to our apartment to do a welfare check. Psycho Bitch said she didn't want to talk to the cops. After all this, she began to act ultra weird. She would close all the curtains in the apartment and make it pitch black and get mad if you opened the curtains or turned the lights on. She would sleep during the day and stay awake all night. She would also hide stuff, like the toaster or silverware. She would always eventually put it back, but it would be gone for no reason for 2 weeks. We had to have RA meetings in which she would bawl to the RA, and the poor RA would roll her eyes and try to be civil and understand both sides. The RA clearly had zero pity for Psycho Bitch. She eventually tweeted how she wanted to punch one of my roommates in the face. We could have pressed charges, but we didn't. After an entire college year with her, I'm surprised she didn't murder us in our sleep. The following college year, she lived with one of my freshman friends. Apparently, she pulled the exact same moves and trashed a guy's yard because he refused to hang out or kiss or date her. She has some problems. She also ran like Naruto. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more incredible Reddit tales. Share your thoughts or your own experiences in the comments below. I love hearing from you all. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring those amazing stories.